My friends, today I'd like to comment off of a passage of Scripture in 1 Timothy chapter 5 and verse number 8, where the Apostle Paul admonishes Timothy, "But if any provide not for his own, and especially for those of his own house, he hath denied the faith and is worse than an infidel." I'd like to speak to you for a few moments on the subject of socialism. Now, I know immediately some of you might be wondering, why would I want to speak on such a broad topic, and why would I address what may be a largely Christian audience with this theme? The reason is because we are facing, in the upcoming year, an election that will determine whether or not the United States of America heads towards socialism or continues on the path of capitalism. Socialism has a long history, beginning with Karl Marx in Europe, who documented and wrote Das Kapital, which is the work concerning socialism. He infused his ideas into the European schools and colleges. Professors began to catch on to his philosophy, and as time went on, Europe itself became socialized. If you'll examine even the worst issues regarding the Third Reich, you will discover that Hitler was no capitalist. In fact, he was completely anti-capitalist and wanted government control of all industries. He was a Marxist socialist without the communist tag. Now, fast forward to our day, when we have various presidential candidates running for office who are promising people universal health care coverage, who are promising people that the government really cares about them, loves them, is compassionate, and will take care of them. And so we are facing in America today a crisis regarding socialism. Make no mistake about it, a Christian is never to support socialism. I don't care what anyone promises you. I don't care if they promise you a new car. I don't care if they promise to pay all your health bills. I don't care if they promise to give you prosperity like you have never known. Socialism is a wicked and a godless way of claiming other people's property. Socialism is theft. Now, a lot of Christians are being duped into the idea that if I just vote for the pro-life candidate of my choice, everything's going to be all right. And we realize that the Word of God says, "Thou shalt not kill." And so we vigorously oppose abortion in all of its forms. But the same set of commandments that says, "Thou shalt not kill," also says, "Thou shalt not steal." And I am amazed at how many Christians are more than willing to belly up to the federal trough and to begin to feed at the slop bucket of the federal government without so much as a twinge of conscience regarding taking money from somebody else that they did not earn for a program that they want to participate in. Socialism is the populism of the day. We talk about government-sponsored health care. We talk about government-sponsored daycare. We talk about expanding the welfare program and the WIC program and all of these other programs that are essentially the redistribution of wealth. And God's people need to understand that the encroaching socialism is one step closer to tyranny. You see, folks, the truth of the matter is this. If the government is allowed to take my money that I earned and give it to somebody else who did not earn it, regardless of how wonderful the cause may be, give it to someone else who did not earn it, then the government has committed a form of legalized theft. Now, we do this all the time through taxes, but taxes should go to support the legitimate programs of government, the defense, the roads, maintaining the peace, maintaining security, all the rest of these things. But today, even God's people are crying out for more money. They're crying out for more of the public largesse. They're crying out for health care to be provided for them when they should be providing it for themselves. Now, I know what many of you are saying. You're saying, well, Pastor, surely you understand the price of health care these days for the average American family. Yes, I do. And the reason health care is so expensive in the first place is because of government involvement. If the government would get out of health care rather than being pushed into the business of health care, the health care market would accommodate and prices would drop. For instance, in certain states, the legislatures have demanded certain mandates of health insurance companies. These mandates cause the companies to have to insure for every sickness, every disease, and every possible contingency among all who are receiving insurance in that state under their program. program. That makes the insurance very, very expensive. If in our states we were offering a cafeteria plan where individual insured persons were allowed to determine whether or not they wanted their insurance money to go for those who would want an abortion or to those who had other specific diseases and things that they never expected to be a victim of, if we could choose, the price of such insurance would plummet. But once again, the government's hands would have to be out of it. You see, even some so-called conservative candidates are proposing that we're going to better ourselves and better our country by having the government control and provide health care. Nothing could be further from the truth. It will be a monstrosity. It will be a waste of money. It will bring prices high. There will be graft, greed, and all sorts of illegal activity surrounding the program, because the larger it gets, the more wasteful it becomes. And it won't be long before the American people are experiencing a healthcare crisis based upon a program that has been managed, or we should say mismanaged, by the government. Now, Christians, listen carefully. There is a principle regarding government. That government is best which governs least. And don't you think for 5 seconds that you can belly up to the federal trough without there being any sort of repercussions. There will be repercussions. Your taxes will go up. Your income will go down. Your freedoms will begin to be eliminated point by point and bit by bit, because if the government is paying for your health care, they can tell you how to live. They can tell you what to do or what not to do when you go to McDonald's. They can tell you if you are overweight or underweight and what to do about it. And so as we surrender to the security of a socialized healthcare system, our other freedoms begin to fall away bit by bit. But that's not the worst of it. The worst of it is that as we socialize that which has always been private, that which has always been capitalistic, as we socialize those things, we will require the mass body of productive Americans to pay for them. And the mass body of productive Americans will be paying for their own, plus everyone who is not a productive American, plus many who are not even Americans. And so we will enter a system once again where someone who earns something cannot keep it, but rather it is being taken by the federal government in order to give it to somebody else. And the biggest right that we saw deteriorate as that process occurred was the right to own private property. If you understand nothing else of what I've said, understand this. The right to own private property is fundamental to all other rights. Without the right to own private property, indeed we have no other rights, because if I cannot own the fruit of my labor, then I cannot feed myself. And if I cannot feed myself, I will surely perish within a short period of time. And sadly, many Christians want to be given a gift by their government. Many Christians believe that a government should be compassionate. Nothing could be further from the truth. When we speak of government compassion, what we really should remember, whenever the government is compassionate upon somebody else, they are taking away something. Whenever the government shows love towards somebody, it takes something away from somebody else. The government has no business being compassionate. It has no business being feeling, and it has no business being loving. The government is to be just, and it is to establish such just laws as will support the freedoms of its people. That is the dream and vision of our founders. As you think about the upcoming election, don't merely ask yourself a candidate's position on one or two issues, but ask yourself this: does he stand for freedom? Does he stand for what is right? Or is he going to abridge your rights in order to give away your hard-earned money? Someone who did not earn it. And so establish a pattern of socialism that has literally brought the European nations, and Great Britain in particular, to her knees economically. Over 100 years ago, we saw a great British Empire flourishing across the world. Freedom and capitalism were the bywords of that empire. Today, we see a small island nation. Its empire gone. Its economy completely dependent upon the nations around it. Its system, socialism. Its importance and power on the world scene, negligible. Let's not take America down the same path that ruined the nations of Europe. Thank you for listening today.